Hello my friends, it's Lisa, and today I'm going to be talking about all of the bullet journal journaling supplies that I like to use. Some are must-haves, some are just the fun things, but I wanted to share that with you guys in case you were looking for maybe some new supplies to get, or you're maybe just starting out with journaling and you want to know what kind of things you should get to start out with. So I'm going to separate this video into like the essentials and like the fun stuff. So the fun stuff is just kind of like the bonus things that like you might want to get just to add a little bit to like your journaling, and things that you don't really need to have in order to start journaling. And then I'm going to have the essentials, which I'm putting that in air quotes because obviously none of these things are like essentials. Really all you need to journal is some paper and a pen or a pencil. Like that's basically it. So obviously the essentials are still like bonus things that you don't really need to have in order to journal, but they're things that I use almost every time or every time I journal, and I find that they are essentials for me, if that makes sense. So of course, even the essentials are not things that you need to have. I'm not telling you to go out and buy all of this stationery in order to be able to journal. We don't need to have those like stationery collections you see on like Pinterest and Instagram in order to start journaling. That's not what I'm saying. But I do have some products and things that I like to use that I feel like are essentials for me and my journaling and what I like to do each month. So I thought I would share that with you guys. But with that all being said, I'm going to bring you guys over to my desk where a lot of my supplies and stationery live, and I can start showing you guys the things that I like to use when journaling. Alright, so we're gonna start off with my essentials. So kind of the things that I really like to have and basically need to have for journaling. Again, it's all up to you. This is just what I use. So first and foremost, obviously, I like to have a journal to journal in. So the one that I'm using currently for this year is this one. This is an Archer & Olive journal. This is the A5 size, I believe. But in 2020, I also used another Archer & Olive journal, but this one is a bit bigger. I believe this is the B5 size. So as you can see, there is a bit of a size difference with these journals, and I think that's one of the great things about Archer & Olive is they have a few different sizes. They have one that's also like square. I think they might have another size that's kind of around this size. I'm actually not entirely sure. I know they have multiple sizes though, so you really can find anything that fits your needs. They also have a bunch of colors and different designs on them. Also, this is not Spawn. This is not an ad. I wish I was sponsored by Archer & Olive, but I am not. I just do really like their journals, but obviously they are a bit more on the pricey side. I believe both of these are around the $32 mark, which is obviously like not cheap for a journal. So I totally understand if that's not something that works for you because it is a bit pricey. I will say though, I have used a few other journals that are a bit of a cheaper pricer point that I would still recommend, but there definitely is a difference in quality. Like the pages are really thick. There's no like ghosting or bleeding through the pages. So I definitely think you're paying for a good quality product. But like I said, I have used a few other journals as well that are a bit of a lower price point. So one that I wanted to recommend are some of the ones from Michaels, which is a craft store. I imagine a few different craft stores probably have journals of some kind. So this one is from Michaels that I got at the beginning of this year. Michaels has a bunch of different like colors and textures, and I believe they also have a bigger size as well. So like a similar like A5 or A6 size and also a B5 size. I think that they have journals that are a bit bigger. So if that's something you're looking for, they also have that. But the pages definitely aren't like as thick as a Archer & Olive journal, but like they're pretty decent. I wouldn't say that I have that many issues with bleeding through and ghosting. Like it's there, but it's really not that bad. I feel like Michaels has improved their journals because I did have one. I had this one for my bullet journal in 2019, and there definitely is a difference in quality. I think they've gotten a lot better, so I would recommend the Michaels ones as well. I do really like this one, and I think these were like $7 to $10. I will try to remember to put like the prices and everything on the screen. I also have this one, which is, I don't know how to say the brand name, but this is a pretty popular journal brand. And this journal itself is not a dotted journal, which is what I typically use for like bullet journaling and things like that. which makes sense. But this one doesn't have like the grid dots, so maybe that's something that you prefer. You can get that as an option. The big difference that I've noticed with this is the quality. I feel like the pages are pretty thin, and also the pages have this like yellow tone. I will put side by side the Archer and Olive journal and this journal so you can kind of see the difference in the colors of the pages. So maybe that is something that is a pro for you. Maybe you like the yellow tone pages. I think for a certain aesthetic that can look really great. I personally prefer the white pages, but you might prefer the yellow ones. So there's kind of an option out there for everybody at various price points. But yeah, these are the journals that I've used and would recommend the most. Definitely Archer and Olive is my favorite, but if you're looking for one at a cheaper price point, I would definitely recommend checking out Michael's. Some other things that I would consider essentials are like tape, glue, things like that. So I do actually have scissors. I should be careful with these, but these are good if you are wanting to kind of cut things out of your journal, like some people do Dutch doors, which are really cool. And also if you're going to be like pasting things into your journal, obviously these are good to have. I would also say an eraser and a ruler are pretty good essentials. I wouldn't even say you really need a ruler, maybe just something with a straight edge. You can kind of make anything work for your needs, but yeah, these are obviously things that I use quite often when journaling, especially an eraser because I make a lot of mistakes. And then speaking of kind of cutting and putting things into your journal, I have a few different like glue tape suggestions and things that I use. Obviously you could just use Scotch tape. I don't really do that because I have so many other options for gluing things in, but if this is what you have, this will work just fine. But my favorite things that I use when pasting things into my journal are just normal glue sticks. These are great. You can buy them in packs of so many, so I've gone through a couple of these already and they're just really helpful to have. And probably my favorite thing when it comes to journaling, one of my favorite tools that I have is this little glue roller thing. So this is from the brand Tombow and this is permanent adhesive. So basically you just roll it onto whatever you're pasting into your journal and you stick it in. There's no drying time. It's very, very like sticky. Like if you put something in your journal, you know it's gonna stay in there forever. And with these, you can buy refills. So obviously I've used one, but you can just kind of buy these refills. So when you finish a roll, you can take it off and put the next one on. You don't have to buy a whole new device every single time. And I believe other brands have these as well. I know Scotch, the brand, has one that I've used, and I think that they have replacements for those as well. So there's definitely some like these at different price points. But yeah, this is probably like one of my most used bullet journaling tools. I love this thing so much. I use it a ton whenever I'm gluing things into my journal, so I would highly recommend. It's super easy to use and there's like no drying time, so it's just like the perfect thing to use for journaling. And then the last like essentials section I want to talk about is kind of veering into the fun stuff section, but that's like pens and markers and things. Obviously a lot of these things are not like necessary and you really just need like a pen, but I know a lot of people want to use a lot of different markers and have different colors in their journal, so I thought I would just kind of include the ones that I like to use. So I do have this pencil case that I use to keep track of like the pens that I'm kind of currently using, because I have a lot of different pens in various different colors, and if I'm using certain ones for a certain monthly theme, I like to make sure that I remember which ones I'm using, so I keep them in here. I also have this that's full of various markers, as well as this, which is also full of markers and pens. I kind of have a problem. I also have more in a drawer, but it's fine. It's fine, everyone. It's fine. We all like stationery here. I think we all can accept my problem. So 3 pens that I kind of keep in my pencil case that I'm always kind of keeping with me, I have them in there all the time, is the Pigma Micron pens. So I have the sizes 01, 08, and 05. So these are really great. Like I said, I basically just keep them in my pencil case at all times because I use these pretty much every month when I'm journaling, and like any other type of journaling I use these. And I got 01 and 05 for Christmas back in 2019 and they're still going strong. They definitely like are maybe starting to dry out a little bit, but they're still working really well. And you know, I've had them for 1.5 years, so that's really great that these last as long as they do. They definitely are a bit of a higher price point, so they are a bit on the pricier side. I think it's like $3 per pen or something like that, so it is a bit pricey. I recommend always checking sales and getting coupons where you buy your stationery, because that is the only time I buy these types of things, but they do last a really long time, so at least you know you're buying something that's going to last for you. And a kind of similar thing, but I think a bit of a cheaper alternative is the Stabilo pens. Stabilo. Someone's gonna know and someone will correct me in the comments. Thank you in advance. So these are kind of a fine point pen as well. They work pretty similarly to the Micron pens. They also come in a variety of colors. The Pigma Micron pens also come in various colors, but I think these ones are a bit of a cheaper price point. So as you can oh, I dropped one. So as you can see, I have a lot of different colors of these Stabilo pens. I also have a few different black ones just because you can never have enough black pens. I will say these definitely don't last as long as the Micron pens, and what I mean is they kind of start drying out a bit faster than the Micron ones. So that is something to think about, but they are definitely a cheaper price point. I think you can get a lot more for a cheaper price. So these are also a great alternative, and I definitely use these all the time. Honestly, I think that's kind of it for the essentials. I think now it's time to get into the more fun stuff. So keeping on theme with pens and markers and things like that, I do have a couple of white pens which are really fun. So I have the Uniball Signo pigment ink white pen. This one works really well. I think mine is starting to dry up or just run out of ink, so it's not working that great. But I also have the Jelly Roll one. I have 05, which I think is too thin. I think people recommend like 08 or something. It's a bit thicker. It's fun to use these to, you know, write on different colored papers or pictures, or even like on top of different colored pens. I think these are really fun and definitely not something you need to have, but it can add a lot to a spread. And then some of my favorite markers are the Tombow dual brush pen markers. So this like top drawer of this is just dedicated to my Tombow markers. I have some in my pencil case I'm currently using, as well as some that I did for next month's spread that I'm keeping separate so I remember which ones I've used. But I have quite a lot. They come in so many colors, so many stunning shades, and I just think that they work really great. So what's cool is they are dual-ended, so they have the brush tip side where you can kind of do calligraphy or fill in bigger areas, but then they also have this pen side so you could kind of write with the same colors as well. I definitely get a lot of use out of my Tombow markers. Again, a bit more on the pricey side. I really only buy them if they're on sale. You can buy them individually or in like packs, and when I first started journaling and I wanted to get some of these markers, I got one of the packs and I waited till they were half off, so it wasn't as bad. But yeah, they definitely are a bit more expensive, but they last a really long time. I think that they're such a good quality marker and I love them. I know that these are pretty much a very popular bullet journaling staple, but I think that they're popular for a reason. Another popular pen that a lot of people use are the mild liners. So these are great because they have a bunch of different colors like the Tombow ones. I don't know if they have as many, but they definitely have a lot. But they also come in different types of pens. So I have like the brush tip ones. So very similar to the Tombow marker, they have the brush tip side as well as a like more pen side. But they also have ones that are more like highlighters. I think these are technically highlighters. Like I have this bright yellow shade that is highlighter yellow. But they have ones that can kind of just do straight solid lines. They aren't a brush tip or a pen. I will put a picture on the screen because I don't actually own them, but they're really great for various things as well. A lot of people use these for their markers in their journals, and I think that these are probably around the same price point as the Tombow markers, but they might be a little bit cheaper. I honestly am not sure, so I don't know why I'm saying all that. But yeah, these are also really great. And some markers that are great for journaling, great for brush lettering and just drawing in general in your journals, but are also a relatively lower price point and something you can find easily, are Crayola markers. So people use just the normal Crayola markers, but I have, once again, a whole drawer just of Crayola super tips. So these are really great. You're able to kind of do that brush lettering look with them if you just kind of push down a little bit harder on like the downstrokes and everything. But yeah, these are really great because I actually, technically they were my sister's, but I stole them from her, so shout out to her. But this was all one pack of all these markers. It was one thing, and I think they were like $5 or something. It was between 5 and 10. So that is a lot of markers for a very reasonable price. Tombow markers are like $3 per marker. So these are great to start out with because they're a pretty low price point for a bunch of markers, and they have a ton of colors and they work just as well. So yeah, since I've stolen these from my sister, I've been using them a lot. Something else that I have not really used that much of, but I think are really fun, are the Archer and Olive acrylograph pens. I don't know why I have the hardest time remembering the name of these. So these are really cool because it's paint but in a pen, so you have a lot of control over it, but they're really opaque as well. Like I said, I haven't used these a ton. I've used the off-white cream color a few times and I do really like it. I have a feeling I'm going to use these a lot in the fall and winter months because I do have, I think, like the fall pack or something. But yeah, these are really cool, and again, Archer and Olive journals, because their pages are so thick, you can put actual paint or these paint pens onto them and it won't like bleed through or like make your pages too wonky. So I really like them. I really like paint in general in journals. I think that that's also something that could be fun to add, and yeah, I just really think that those are a great idea. So yeah, I have a lot of pens and a lot of marker recommendations and things that I like to use. Again, you don't need to have all of that, but I just personally use those all the time, especially the Tombos, the Crayolas, and the Micron pens. I find are something that I use pretty much every month when I'm setting up my bullet journal spreads, so I wanted to share those. But now we're going to get into the even more fun stuff. Another thing that I love and probably have too much of, and definitely you don't need this much, is washi tape. I have this little container to store all of my washi tape and it brings me a lot of joy. I think washi tape is really fun because there's so many colors and so many patterns. You basically can find washi tape to match literally any theme, any color scheme, anything that you want. There's probably washi tape out there for it. And I find it very easy to fill up empty space in journal spreads. So if I feel like something is missing in a certain area of a bullet journal spread, if it's just kind of this big empty space, just put some washi tape over it and then it looks a lot more full, and I just think it can add so much by being so easy. It's also great if you're worried about not having a ton of artistic talent. Not that you need that for bullet journaling, but you know, a lot of people do a lot of drawing, doodle heavy journal spreads, so if you're worried about not being able to do all that, it's a great way to add to your spreads, add some color, add some fun, add some patterns without actually having to have artistic ability. But again, do whatever you want in your journal. If you want to draw, even if you don't think you're good at it, do it anyway. You don't have to do drawings if you don't want to. Basically, that's what's great about journaling, is it's all up to you what you want and what you can do. But something else that's also great for adding to spreads without having to have artistic ability is stickers. So I have a very, very messy, chaotically organized drawer of stickers. So I have a bunch of these little boxes of stickers. Those are great because there's kind of a lot of different themes with the boxes and I just really like them. And you get a lot of stickers in this little box. You wouldn't think it, but there's a lot in there. I also clearly just love stationery, so I have a subscription to a sticker subscription box sort of thing. So I have a subscription to Sticky, which sends you sometimes patches. What are these called? Not pins. Paper clips. Paper clips, notepads, and there's also a bunch of stickers in the back that come every month. So this is a lot of fun. It's something that I look forward to every single month. But like I said, again, stickers can just add a lot to spreads, so I like having them. And then there's things like sticker books and sticker pads that you can basically find in so many stores, so many like individual little shops or bookstores or stationery stores, craft stores, things like that. Like you can find sticker books and sticker sheets and everything in so many places, which I think is great. So yeah, definitely a big sticker fan. Do I need this many stickers? Definitely not, but they add a lot to spreads and they're a lot of fun to collect. Something else that I think can be a lot of fun, and you can also find so many different patterns and things with these as well, are stamps. So I have these little plant stamps, which is so cute and so fun, and I think you can basically find like anything you could ever want in a stamp. I also have these like individual letter stamps, which are really great. I feel like it can add a lot to a spread if you use like the title or the kind of header for each page with these. Sometimes I don't want to do calligraphy or certain types of hand lettering. I just use these and I think it can add a lot, and I just really like the look of these as well. And not only are there a bunch of stamps out there, there's also a lot of different ink pads in various colors. As you can see, I have a few. I think they're all like kind of earthy tone colors. So I have some whites, some blacks, I think like a maroon, some greens, and things like that. And these are great to go on top of paper as well. Like if you have black paper, the white stamp looks really cool. So these are also a great way to kind of add to your spreads as well. And like I said, like stamping onto paper, I love adding paper into my journal spreads to like layer up and have them as like headers or whatever it may be. I just like adding a bit of paper into my journal spreads. I think it can add a lot. So I do have this big pack of paper. So I have these in like these neutral earthy tones as well. I just really like ripping out pieces of paper to add to spreads to layer onto other pictures and other pieces of paper that I rip out. I just think the layered look looks really cool because it looks like you might spend a long time on it, but in actuality you're just ripping paper out and pasting it on top of things, and I think it can look really, really nice, and like you spend a really long time on it and it just can look very effective. So I definitely use a lot of paper and scraps and things like that to glue into my journals because I think it adds a lot to spreads. But those are all of the things that I love to use when journaling. Again, some of these things I think are must-haves for me personally, and then a lot of it is just like fun bonus stuff that I think is fun to use. I also have been collecting a lot of this stationery over the past couple of years. I started bullet journaling, I think in July of 2019. That was when I first set up my first monthly spread. So I have been collecting a lot of this stuff over the past 2 years. So you definitely don't need this much to start out with. You definitely don't need this much in 2 years. But it is a lot of fun to collect stationery. I definitely have a bit of a problem with buying stationery, but it's fine. But yeah, those are my go-to favorite bullet journal stationery supplies, things that I like to use, and I would definitely love to know in the comments what you guys like to use when you journal, any stationery items that you think are must-haves for you and your journaling. But I think that that is going to complete this video, so thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!